Tell us about the function of vitamin D in the
Yeah,
body. Like, once it gets in, like, what are kind of like all the organ systems and
right.
pathways? Maybe not all of them, but what are some of the
Yeah,
most important ones that it starts to work on?
right. And I won't get too far into the weeds, but and I think I may be jumping the gun a little bit, but I did want to talk about a deficiency because I think we can relate it a little bit more. So if we hear of like rickets in children or osteoporosis, osteomalacia, that is connected with vitamin D deficiency. So we can connect that with, oh, it's really helpful for our bones. So obviously it plays a huge role in that system. And then one that we may be a little bit more common to hear is our immune function.
Yes, absolutely.
So there are many, without getting into the weeds, but many systems and cells that are regulated and need vitamin D for that regulation. Um, and in that same aspect, some maybe not so commonly, I guess, or intuitively thought of, is with our immune system, we can think about maybe autoimmune conditions. So
Right.
when there's maybe a thyroid function like hypothyroid Hashimoto's, even we can semi-relate it to like fibromyalgia if we want to look into or get into that conversation of like autoimmunity and musculoskeletal care. So vitamin D is really, really awesome for that. Um, Obviously, the cardiovascular function with it being fat soluble, we need a lot of great fats for that, and arterial function and structure.
Hmm.
And I guess a couple more here. Our nervous system, because again, it can be really helpful. And I don't want to get too far because I know I don't want to overlap too much, but really helpful for like anti-inflammatory and just overall conduction of our nerves to make sure they're functioning well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, and the reality is all these topics are going to bleed into each other. But I know one of the things that gets talked a lot about in medical schools and chiropractic schools, whatever type of healthcare provider you go into, is that you can't understand abnormal until you understand normal, right?
Right.
So the reality is as you're talking about normal a little bit, you're starting to tip off what the abnormal is going to be, right? They,
Right.
they they go lock hand, hand in hand as far as that's concerned. Definitely, those are a lot of the notes that I had as well too. Definitely huge on the immune function, and I mean,
Hmm.
my goodness, we're right in the heart of February. We've had probably the coldest winter here in
Hmm.
central Pennsylvania, so I'm told in at least a decade, or like the coldest
Yeah.
January.
Wow.
So who all hasn't heard about, like, you know, little Susie has the cold, little Johnny has RSV, right? So just making sure that those vitamin D levels are the way that they're supposed to be to
Hmm.
kind of help out with that immune function. Like you said, vitamin D is also anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, so it's just
Yeah.
huge even for some of the autoimmune conditions.
Yeah.
Um, y- Love that you discussed, muscle and nerve function. That's perfect. Did we make a little bit of note about with mood as well too, right?
Yeah, yes.
You want to
So,
take the
yeah,
lead on
thanks for
that?
bringing that up. But
Yes.
yeah, for overall, I mean, it can go hand in hand again with like the anti-inflammatory and with neuroinflammation. So, just nervous system again in our brain. And
Hmm.
so that can alter some of our chemical messengers with how we perceive different stressors and our mood and our mental state and emotions. So, it plays a huge role in that. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then, like you said, you were just kind of rehashing what you said. You were already kind of tipping off things like the rickets and osteomalacia,
Hmm.
osteoporosis. But I think usually when people think vitamin D, the number one thing that they probably go to in their minds is the bone health, right?
Hmm.
So again, you need that proper levels of vitamin D, so you have that proper balance between calcium and phosphorus, which work antagonistic to each other, but that's
Hmm.
going to be what supports proper bone and joint health.
Right.
So this is one of those exciting ones to start on for episode 1 because the overall breadth of vitamin D is massive.
Yeah.
There's almost not a single there almost isn't a single organ system that this doesn't
Right.
work on,
Right.
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.